Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Cbrev. Welcome to another MLB The Show 20 video. Today we're going to be running it back, going over all the cards in the new Run It Backpack, what I think about each and every one of them, and then we'll talk about some market implications moving forward. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe for more MLB The Show 20 content. I post a ton of it, and drop a like on the video. Helps me out a ton. So what we're going to do in this video, I have 5 of these packs grinded out already, so we're going to open those at the end. I'm also going to go through each card in this pack, like I said, and talk about what I think about them competitively, and then we'll talk about some market stuff. So let's dive right into it. First of all, 91 Prime Tyler Clifford. I love that we're getting a ton of Prime relievers because I think the Prime series is perfect for reliever cards or closer cards. This card looks pretty cool. Slow cutter, decent four seam. Clifford's changeups are usually really floaty and slow, and so I don't think this card will be very good competitively for that reason. When you use a card like this, you're pretty much going to be relying on cutter change, and when you're throwing a changeup a lot, you definitely want higher control stats than 68 walks per 9. This card seems like every time you throw a changeup, it's going to magnetize to the middle of the zone. So good per 9s, good pitching clutch, decent pitch mix, pretty good finesse pitcher, but I probably won't be using him. Just seems like he's going to be prone to the magnets. Not hating on the card at all, just being honest. You can only have 7 slots for your bullpen. I don't think this is going to be one of them for me. Next up, 91 Prime Ephraim Andrews. A really good thing about this card that I really think nobody has thought about is, well, on the bright side, this guy, so next up is Greg Holland. This card excites me as well. I didn't think they'd get his velocity as high as they did. I don't remember him throwing 99, but this card's going to throw 99 for you, which is pretty cool. If you look at his pitch mix, he's pretty much Rob Nen, who is a guy I like to pitch with a lot. He throws a hard slider, hard splitter, great per 9s, but again, low walks per 9 with a card that's going to be relying on a splitter slash changeup a lot. Kind of scary. Also, one knock on Greg Holland is that he's very slow to the plate. I tweeted this out earlier. I said I think I can go start to finish through a Chick-fil-A drive-through faster than I can throw a pitch with Greg Holland to home plate. So you are pretty much going to have to slide step with anyone that has like 65 speed or higher online. So that is something to be worth noting. But I think he's a cool card. I think he's definitely usable. We haven't had a good Greg Holland card in a long time, so I'm excited for this guy. Definitely better than Clifford in my opinion. I like him a lot. You're going to want to pitch inside a lot to lefties to get people out with this guy. And don't forget about your fastball. Next up, a card a lot of people are excited about. I'm excited too. 94 Lee Smith. Don't be fooled by the overall. Reliever overalls are very weird. I am very, very excited for this card, as I'm sure a lot of people are. First off, a little bit underrated. 33 stamina is pretty high for a closer. That's, 8 more than Clifford had. So he's going to be able to throw maybe like 25 pitches before getting in the red energy, which is a big deal. And then his pitch mix is amazing. Unfortunately, he does not get outlier on his four-seam fastball, so the hardest he's going to be able to throw it is 101, but he does have the cutter much slower. The cutter, if you throw it low in the zone with low effort, will go as low as 92 miles an hour, so that's a lot of speed differential. This card has been mentioned a lot as looking a lot like Rob Dibble with a forkball, which I agree with to an extent. Dibble has the outlier and the slower cutter, so Dibble has much higher speed differential between those two pitches than this card has, but I do think this card's going to be very good. I also kind of like that his slider is hard as well. I think slider is going to be a sneaky pitch for this card because obviously it breaks more than the cutter, but it still brings the velo. I think that's a nice mix-up for when you fall behind in the count and you think they're going to be hunting for the cutter. So really like this card. The forkball does tend to hang and does not break a lot, so be careful throwing it with this guy. Try to throw it when you're ahead in the count. Try to bury it. But overall, this card was very good last year. Really good pitch mix, about as good as a pitch mix as you can ask for from a reliever. So I think he's maybe top 5 for righty relievers. I'm not sure. I'll have to use him, but he's got potential to be. Really big fan of this card. Next up, Jonathan Lucroy. Shout out Kevin. This card's pretty interesting. Better than I thought he'd be. Diamond defense behind the plate with the 90 fielding. But as far as competitive usage, I don't think this card should be on anyone's radar. We've actually been pretty blessed with a lot of catcher options in the game this year. So I don't think this guy makes the cut, but still a fun option. A nice nod to a lot of good years he had with Milwaukee. Pretty underrated career, honestly, for Jonathan Lucroy, especially as a catcher. So, like that he got a card. Probably shouldn't be in your God Squad lineup. Next up, Tony Perez. Wish this card was higher than a 95 because he is a Hall of Famer, but you know, they got to go off his career stats. Overall, pretty solid across the board hitter. Defense doesn't really matter at third base, so I'm not worried about the silver defense. But unfortunately, third base, first base are really deep positions at this point in the year. You guys probably have someone that you like more. I will say I used this exact card last year because Signature Series cards have the same attributes this year that they did last year. And he played better than I thought he would. So keep that in mind. Could be a fun mix-up, but like I said, probably not on anyone's radar. All right. This guy's fun. Adam Wainwright. You guys are going to hear me say this a lot on stream and in videos, I'm sure, but Wainwright is baby Maddox, and as far as pitch mix goes, he might be better than Maddox. I'm going to go that far because his cutter is slower. So he has much better speed differential between sinker and cutter than Maddox does. He also throws a straight changeup, which I think at times is better than a circle changeup because it tunnels better with the four seam. So this card's nasty. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this card. To be fair, a lot of people on Twitter that played a lot last year were talking about how good this card's going to be. This card has potential to be a top 10 starter in the game. I'm going to go ahead and say that. This card is really nasty. I know you guys are worried about the low per nines. I think actually per nines matter less as we go on in the year because how much do per nines matter when every single hitter in your opponent's lineup is, you know, 100 plus contact? So that's just my opinion. I think pitch mix rules all anyway. This guy has pretty much the ideal pitch mix, the slow curve. The cutter he can throw as slow as 85, which is nasty. The sinker can go as high as 95. It's going to have a lot of break. And his four seam is a sneaky pitch too. I wish he had his delivery from last year. He's got his delivery from his live series, which is a little simpler. But overall, huge fan of this card. Like I said, potential top 10 starter in the game. Really, really like him. Next up is the first time we've gotten a high diamond Cliff Lee since he was added to the game last year. The highest card he got last year was a 90 overall. So I'm excited to see this guy. One of my favorite pitchers to watch in real life. Super, super fun to watch, especially in the playoffs. Looks fun. I don't know how good he'll be. There's a couple knocks on this card that I think should be mentioned. They gave him a sinker primary this year, and his sinker doesn't have a ton of break. I actually prefer the Cliff Lee of last year that had a two-seam primary. I think two-seam primary would have made this card very unique and hard to hit because people kind of know how to drop their PCI into sinkers right now, but not so much with primary two-seams that you're spamming all the time. So that's a little bit disappointing. I wish he had a two-seam instead of a sinker. I never thought I'd say that this year, but it's true. And I wish his cutter was a little slower. His cutter is probably his best pitch, but there's just not a ton of speed differential there. So when I pitch with this card, you're going to be looking at seeing a lot of cutters and circle changeups from me, honestly, which, you know, there's only so much sequencing you can do with that. So I will say his delivery is very easy to use on analog, and 101 walks per nine is absolutely no joke. Super, super high control for a pitcher. I believe that's the same walks per nine as Greg Maddux has. So that's how good Cliff Lee was with his control when he pitched in real life. You will be able to dot with this card. It just kind of has the Grinky effect where if you do miss your spot, you're probably going to get hit really hard. So good meta for lefty pitchers, which I'm going to make a video on as well, but we'll see. We'll see. Could be good, could be okay. Next up, Curtis Granderson. Good nod to his career, but really shouldn't be on anyone's radar either. If you're going to platoon a guy at this point in the year, they better have like 115 plus against the side that you want to bat them against. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this card at all. Love Curtis Granderson in real life, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that card. Next up, Wade Davis. Super excited for this guy as well, as I'm sure a lot of you are. Very excited. His pitch repertoire reminds me a lot of Mariano Rivera. I think he'll play a lot like Mariano Rivera, and I like that he has a slider this year. Unfortunately, no changeup, but for the same reason that I talked about with Lee Smith, I think his slider will actually play well off of his cutter. The ability to throw both and have them kind of look the same, I think, is really strong. Obviously, almost maxed out per nines and a maxed out pitching clutch. Your opponent's PCIs are going to be about as small as they can be. Wade Davis had an insane prime. You should look at his stats on Baseball Reference. They're ridiculous. But excited to use this card. Probably is a top 4 right-handed relief pitcher in the game right now, in my opinion. Better than Raleigh. I'm going to use this guy over Raleigh. And I don't think the low walks per 9 hurts him as much because he doesn't rely on off speed to get people out. So he's going to be throwing pitches that have naturally more control, which is why the arguments I made for someone like Tyler Clifford earlier don't apply necessarily to this card as much. So just want to get that out there. Really small stamina at 25, which is a little bit of a bummer. So you're going to want to pitch to contact with this guy. One more thing I should say about him too, the four seam gets up to 99, but the timing windows on it have always been really weird. It almost seems like you have to swing earlier than 99 to hit his 99. So could be really strong, especially on Hall of Fame legend. Looking like a very good card. Next up, Baez. Man, I wish this was a shortstop primary so he could keep the diamond defense over there, because that would be sick. If you do play him at shortstop or third, he's going to have gold defense instead of diamond. But overall, pretty sneaky good card. I like Baez's swing. Unfortunately, he is a pull hitter that gets auto-shifted, so that's a bit of a bummer. And the hitting attributes are maybe a little low for what you're looking for in your middle infield at this point in the year, but solid card. Nothing really else to say, just good. Billy Williams, probably shouldn't use him. Should be noted he has a first base secondary, so that's usually where people played him last year. Last year he was a free card from Moments. Don't put this guy in the outfield. It's gonna be a bad time with the bronze defense and the 62 fielding. Good swing though. I do like hitting with this card. I would say he plays above his attributes at the plate, but because he's basically a first baseman for me, shouldn't really be on your radar. Bert Blyleven, another guy I want to spend some time talking about. I wish there were more curveball primaries in this game because I think they're super fun to pitch with. The only three that come to mind for me right now are Blyleven, Luzardo, and Live Series Morton. So I wish we saw more of that or just more primaries of off-speed pitches, but this card's going to be interesting this year. This card was a beast for me last year. I loved using him. He was incredible for me at pretty much from day one. I think he's going to be a little worse this year. The reason I think he's going to be worse this year is because Bert Blyleven actually pitches backwards as far as what he's effective against. This card dominates left-handed hitters and really struggles to get right-handed hitters out. The reason he dominates lefties is because he throws the curveball very hard with a lot of break. 85 miles an hour is as hard as he can throw it. So you can basically use it like a slurve and just run it into lefties all the time and jam them. It's a pitch they will not have seen very much. It's a very hard pitch to square up. Throwing an off-speed pitch that hard, 85, with as much break as his curveball has is really strong. Also, his changeup is very good, and the two-seamer running away from lefties is really strong as well, because even though there's only a 2-mile-an-hour difference between his four-seam, the timing windows, again, are weird. You have to swing like later at two-seams than their velocity to get good timing, so long story short, Bert very good against lefties, but pretty bad against righties. He doesn't have like a sinker to jam them inside. The two-seam doesn't really work that way because he throws it slow. So I really have a lot of trouble getting righties out with this card. You kind of have to front door curves and be cute about it, throw stuff high. So that's why I think Bert will be worse this year, because a lot of cards that are in God Squad lineups now hit right-handed pitching better. And a lot of the best cards in the game, like Trout and Tatis, are right-handed hitters that crush righties, which is like the perfect counter to Blyleven. Obviously, I'm going to use him. I think he'll be okay. Probably not as good as last year. We're already at 13 minutes. I apologize. I'll speed it up now. Paul Goldschmidt, sneaky good card. Diamond defense at first base with the 90 fielding. Great swing. Super quick swing. Generates a ton of power. The 90-plus power to both sides is going to play well. Obviously, you'd like the contact versus right to be better, but this is a sneaky card. This is a top 10 first baseman. Maybe top 5. We'll see. Probably not, but I think this card plays way better than he looks on paper. So if you are at all interested in trying this guy, give him a shot. His card last year was insane for me. Finally, Andruw Jones. A little bit disappointed in this one too, as I wish his hitting stats were a little bit better, but looking back at his stats in real life, it kind of makes sense. Another righty that with reverse splits, which is good for him. Obviously 99 fielding, 99 reaction, one of the best defensive outfielders of all time. Gonna play amazing for you. Defensively, his swing is okay. Just doesn't have the 80 power versus left, which is a bit of a bummer. I don't think he's a top 5 outfielder. I think he's maybe not even a top 10 outfielder, but that's just an ode to how deep outfield is this year. So that's all my initial evals. Sorry that took so long, but you guys are constantly asking me what I think about these cards, so I thought this video would be pretty fun. Also, we got this MVP Cal Ripken Jr. I think he's good, but not great. Obviously, he has one of the worst swings in the game. I've talked about it before. So, how do you get these cards? You guys should know. You can repeat the Showdown. You can repeat the Conquest. If you're going to do the Showdown, I've done it a bunch. My one word of advice is to not skip to the end. A lot of the moments are pretty easy. And also, if you get the moment where you have to strike out 3 batters with your starting pitcher, I usually just load in and quit that one. Save yourself some sanity. The computer just rakes in the pitching moments in that Showdown, so I just skipped that one. Just to let you guys know. All right, going to try to move quickly now. Market implications. So, because these cards are sellable and the method of getting them is repeatable, we should see a lot of market inflation moving forward. People are just going to spam this to get these cards, then they're going to sell the cards to get the stubs, and they're going to use the stubs to buy the players they want. So in general, the supply of money in the market is going to go up a ton in the next week, and therefore cards should increase in price pretty much across the board. Cards that are going to increase the most in price, I'll go over now. Cards that are going to go up the most in price: Home Run Derby cards. These rare cards are going to skyrocket in price. They may have already done so. 80K is pretty significantly higher than they were before. And also the prospect cards. The reason these are going to spike in price is because it's now easier to get Trout through Prime. Because of the Run It Back Choice Pack, there's a ton of cards in there for Trout, making those categories for Trout easier. But in order to get Trout, you need to do the other categories as well. So these cards were replenished in the Conquest recently, but a lot of people have done that already, so these cards should see a ton of price movement, in my opinion. And then other cards that are going to spike in price are highly desirable cards that are expiring or have expired. So I think we will see Ty Cobb, Kershaw, Pudge Rodriguez go up in price slowly over the next week. Also, World Series rewards, specifically Sale and Ricky Henderson, have already spiked a ton. Sale's up to 400K now. Sale is going to cycle out of the World Series pack after this season if they keep it consistent with what they've done before. So this card definitely has a potential to get up to like 600-700K in a month. I really believe that. So if you want a Sale, maybe get him. If you want a Ricky, maybe get him if you can. And then obviously 12 and OBR rewards are just going to spike continually throughout the year. They always do that because there are so many methods to get stubs besides BR as the game cycle goes on, that people stop playing BR to get their stubs, and therefore there's a low supply of BR cards in the market. Long story short, so yeah, market should go up in general. We know for a fact that Team Affinity Stage 4 is not going to be sooner than October 2nd, if I can find the schedule. The schedule's on the home page, sorry guys. So here's the new schedule. We know the 9th inning program's on 10-2, so Team Affinity is probably a week after that, so it's probably a long ways away. So I assume the market's just going to go up in general moving forward, especially in like the next week, just because people are going to farm stubs. Obviously, the Run It Back cards themselves are going to go down in price as more people get them and sell them, but the market as a whole is going to go up. Previous inning bosses, World Series rewards, 12 and 0 rewards, and then Home Run Derby and prospect cards should be the cards that rise the most in price. So if you're interested in getting any of those, I would try to pick them up soon. So that being said, let's wrap up the video with these 5 packs. The first one we landed on Wade Davis, who this is actually a good pack. Blyleven, Lee, and Davis I was all going to take. I think Davis is maybe going to be the highest in demand of these cards, so I will definitely take him. They're all kind of settling around 40-30K right now. Next is Lee and Wainwright. We also got Baez and Holland. This is fun, man. I think I'm going to take Waino here because I know for sure I want to use him soon. Now we got a pitcher and a reliever. Oh, I wish I wouldn't take Waino now. Dang. Alright, well, this looks like a sell round, I suppose. Dang, imagine I'd have taken Lee instead. I'm really interested in the pitchers from this. You guys know I'm addicted to pitchers, but you can see, like, these prices are consistent across the board, so I guess I'll just take Clifford and see how he does. 2 more packs. There's Blyleven. We also got Goldschmidt and Lee Smith. Another great pack. Maybe I'll just fill up the bullpen and pitch with Wainwright. That'd be fun. Let's go Lee Smith. I feel like you can't pass on a Lee Smith if he pops up. And finally, we do land on either Baez or Blyleven. You can see Baez is selling for more. So if you do land on one of these expensive cards, like Wade Davis is selling for 35, and these lower tiers are selling for 25 right now, definitely pick Davis, sell, and then buy the other one. But Yeah, I'm going to go Blyleven here because I like him. So we got 2 starters, 3 relievers there. Those are really the cards I'm most interested in using. Sorry this video went 20 minutes, but I hope it was informative for you guys. If you made it to the end of the video, please type in the comments section, will you please use Lou Gehrig for once? Would love to read that in the comments section. Thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, if you're new, subscribe for more. Would appreciate it. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.